Hi guys, hail Mary to everybody. It's MicheleMarieDalene. I'm doing this video today only because we got a ton of questions from the other side. Yes, we did an AMA with the people in the spiritual realm. Me and People of Peace. And these are the questions that were from me and Lumi from the other side. There's about 78 of them. And because there's 78 questions, we're not going to be able to go through every single one in a relatively fast manner. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our time and go through them as we can. Now, some of the questions, of course, are going to be asked either from me or from Lumi, and then, we will both speak up on the questions and so everybody can hear them. And by the way, for those of you who wanted to know, yes, I got the old cans back from Batty, so now I can hear myself good again. Awesome. But we don't need the headphones on right now because we just want to make sure the sound's working, and it is. So, we're going to do a similar AMA here for people of Earth, including ETs from outer space that may have access to the Earth internet. So if you happen to be an ET or an Earthling and you want to ask an AMA, if their questions are different than the ones that we were being asked here from the spiritual realm, we are more than likely going to answer them for you. And as I said, there was over 78 questions. And because there's so many questions, instead of basically just reading them and make you basically have to scramble to find out which question number you are, we are going to show them to you on the screen, and that way you can read them as we read them. So let's go to it now. I don't actually know how to do transitions yet, so let's just switch over to the questions right now. So here we have the questions. So we're going to, first one, I'm going to click over here so you can see it says here, is, have you considered starting a house fund or saving up to purchase your own home in the future, or do you plan on staying on rent forever? Me and Patty had planned on getting a house, but for me and Lemmy by ourselves, it really would be much more difficult to do. Remember, we are older now. We're not teenagers, or we're not young adults anymore. We are 52 years old for me, 187 years old for Lumi. And because of that reason, we do not think we can take on by ourselves the responsibility of having a house. It's just too difficult to do. However, if the opportunity did present itself, we probably would do it. We probably would, but honestly, we don't think that's going to happen. It's just not feasible. Okay, so now let's go. No. Remember, some of these questions I can see 2 or 3 of them at a time. So let's see, make sure this thing's showing up on the screen here correctly. Yes, it is. I gotta make sure. Oh, actually, it's gotta scroll down where 3 is. So put 3 in the center of the screen. 3 in the center. Okay, that's a little bit higher than that. We crapped the screen on the question, so that would be just the questions and not everything else. So it may seem a little weird. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so let's do number 2 now. It says, if you had the money, would you consider getting a statue or painting of or both done of Lumi, and do you feel that would help you? No, on both questions. Because first of all, I don't think any artist, despite their best skills, can really show the way I truly see Lumi in my heart and in my mind's eye. Lumi is just too special to easily describe to an artist and give an accurate representation. Even a sketch artist, just like George Burns said, "Oh God, they make everybody look like crooks." Yeah, they do. I mean, they don't. But he did a pretty good job on that. Oh God, but honestly, I don't see Lumi being a good candidate for a statue. Or a painting. In fact, the best paintings to me, anyway, are probably not even, like Michelle said, are probably not even within reason to do. It's just not. So the answer to that question is no. So we'll just get back to question number 3. I'm trying to go through these pretty quick because there's so many of them. There's over 76, 78 of them. So I'm going to go through this relatively quick here. Do you have any activities planned with Lumi? If so, what would you consider spending more? If so, would you consider spending more time with her? Well, I'm with Lumi every day. We are always doing things together, like housework and talking to each other, and obviously we take baths together. Get cleaned up. We do these live streams together, and so we're always together, and it's always been a wonderful time because with Lumi's here, I feel more complete, which is kind of an irony because when I was at Patty's house, Patty threw Lumi out of my life. She absolutely did not like Lumi at all. She really hated Lumi's guts, and to the point where she told me that she wanted to see Lumi just disappear and no longer exist anymore. Really sad. Really sad. And I really felt that was, just kind of a bit over the top because without Lumi, I feel very empty and isolated. So this is why Lumi is so important in my life. Okay. Have you considered watching Judy? As she has helped Pop save his life. Would you find her videos to be valuable? For those of you who don't know who Judy is a spiritual YouTube teacher who speaks about faith from her own perspective, from her own insight. As far as when I watch her videos, I get so many video recommendations from people, including Rebecca Marina Messenger and other people, that it's very difficult to keep up with everybody in all the videos, but it really would be fantastic if we could actually get more things done. We're just checking. Let's see how we're doing in the frame rate. You're doing good. 13.7%. Yep, that's 30 frames per second. So yeah, I probably would watch them, but eventually. But I haven't really to figure out how I'm going to get all the videos. I watch so many technical videos and tarot card reading videos. It takes a lot of work. Okay. Would you consider starting a garden if you could purchase your own home? Yes, we talked about this. Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Adapt 2030, have strongly suggested that if you own your own home, it would make sense to start a garden because of the price of food and just-in-time delivery systems are collapsing around the world. As we know now, from what's going on with China and the coronavirus, how it's affecting China right now, a lot of shipping has been derailed from factories in China because the factories are not open, the docks are not open, products are not being sent from China. So people really are seriously finding that the imports that they need every day is not going on. Groceries, a lot of food in the United States, we've seen crop failures all over last summer that have caused major crop failures from flooding to early snows in the Midwest and parts of Canada. So yeah, we need to consider having alternative grocery, even if we have to think on a more local level, grow our food on a local level. That certainly is a valid point. Under your current living conditions, is there anywhere you can start a garden? If so, would you want to? Yeah, we have a huge backyard here. The problem would be is that we don't have any garden tools, and even if we did, how can we make sure that our garden would not be damaged by wild animals? Because there's a huge number of black bears and brown bears in this area. Wolves, coyotes, foxes, raccoons, rabbits. So it would be very hard to keep the unwanted people or creatures from seeing our garden as an all-you-can-eat buffet. But it certainly is something I have considered in the past. Do you realize the benefits of having a garden? Yes, I do. I will explain that as we have food, we have something to do with our time and our energy. But right now, with the knee injury, I have to also include this, and it may be difficult to maintain a garden because it would be hard to bend down to plant the seeds and to weed and grow the food. What other hobbies could you think of that would make your life more enjoyable other than starting a garden? I love to play music. I love to sing. There are questions up here about my ability to draw or paint. I really love drawing, and I love writing. I love doing videos on YouTube, even for fun. I love tinkering with technology. That's the things I love to do, even outside of YouTube. I'm always coming up with new experiments, new ideas, and exploring new opportunities. That's just what works for me. And that's the end of page 1. Page 2. Number 9. Would you ever plan a day trip to New York to see the Statue of Liberty and some of the other interesting things in the city? That was on me and Dory's list. Yeah, I think we could do it too. But I think right now is given all the anxiety provoking things that have happened to Michelle with the knee. I don't think it would be for a few months, maybe within a year or two, because Michelle right now has to get back her ability to feel confident walking great distances. And New York is a huge city, and I'm sure there is mass transit, there's buses, there's trains, but Michelle does not like big cities. Anyway, she personally prefers small environments. Right, I don't like big cities, and I like and New York is scary. Okay. So number 10 says, have you considered starting vacation funds so you can possibly go on holiday? Yes, that's related to what we're trying to do now. We're trying to put money in the savings account so that we can go places. Yeah, that's something that is on my list of projects that I'm doing currently. But until the finances are back to normal, it's going to be kind of depleted for a while because we have to cut into our savings account to make up for the situations for the month of March, April, and May, and maybe June. Maybe in May and April, we may actually begin the process of getting our finances back to normal, but it's going to take a while. But yes, that is on our list. Number 11, if you could go on vacation, where would you plunge a holiday and why? I want to go to the United Kingdom. I want to go to London. I want to look at life in the UK. Theoretically speaking, I could be in the UK for 6 months out of the year and then come back out of those 6 months. Michelle needs to get a passport first. We have to get a passport first. And then once we get a passport, we can go there. Also, I want to go see the Hotel de Glace in Quebec. And I want to see that because the Hotel de Glace looks like a really awesome, nice hotel. That's open from December to March. And it's really, really awesome looking from what videos I've seen of it. So yeah, if it's still there, I want to go and see it. Maybe next winter or a couple of winters later. Again, I need a passport to travel to Quebec. And I'm definitely interested. It's not cheap, but it's, like I said, it's a destination vacation. It would be great to be able to stay at the Ice Hotel. So that's what I wanted to do. And also I want to go to see the Minus 5 Ice Bar in New York City, which is in the New York Hilton. Yeah. That's another place I want to go. But again, you're going to talk about a day trip that might actually be a day and a night trip because of transportation. So that's not something that's going to be right away available to everybody, but hey, you take what you can, right? Yeah. Okay. 12, do you like painting? If not, would you consider trying it out more often? The problem with painting is I don't really... I sketch once in a while. I will draw things. I used to do animated comic strips, and which are available on Google Drive. You can look at them. They're called From the Harpy's Desk. They are, some of the strips go getting really, really detailed in the end with graphics and artwork, but they were just take too long to do one strip a day, 2 strips a day, 3 strips a day. Actually, it was getting down to the point I was going from 1 strip a day to like 1 strip a week because I was adding more and more details, colors, grayscaling, and shading, and other things thanks to electronics, computers. And so it really kind of made it really kind of what was a simple hand-drawn strip. Then it became a really big, major production. And but yeah, I would not mind doing it again. I just don't know when that would be. Let's see. Your mouse likes to roll. Yep. Okay, so let's go here. What is all your time favorite song if you could only pick one? only pick one out of the thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of songs I know. I guess it would have to be kind of like my theme song in a way. It's called The Age of Aquarius. Because by the fifth dimension, because that is the song that I remember from my birth. And it seems to speak to me about who I am, the kind of person I am, as we are now entering into the Aquarian age. A very fascinating time, actually, to think about it, because, this is the age of Aquarius right now. So, it'd be very fascinating to see how that really speaks, but I would say that would probably be the fifth dimension's age of Aquarius is my favorite one. Would you consider purchasing more stuffed animals if you had the money? So, which ones? A lot of my stuffed animals are rescues, and I don't really have any particular desire for any particular stuffed animals. Just I look at the ones I see, and when I go shopping, and if I see something that catches my eye, I'm more than likely to buy it. Or if I see something that's been left on the curb or the side of the road that I think is really reaching out to me, I'll take it in. A lot of my stuffed animals were abandoned toys that were just nobody wanted anymore. I keep thinking of the Island and the Misfit toys for Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and the song by Patti Loveless, "Don't Toss Us Away," and so the stuffed animals just kind of became kind of like my couch buddies. I do interact with them too. By the way, they just they don't just sit there on my couch. What are the meanings of each of stuffed animals you currently own? Too. Well, the I Love You bear is probably the most important because this is cute little pink peach bear, and she's got this beautiful little shirt that says "I love you," and that shirt. I mean, that little bear was a toss away from a church tag sale, and I found a little bear in a dumpster along with other stuffed animals, and at the time the song by Patti Loveless started playing in my head, and I kind of felt bad, and so I took the little bear and. It is amazing. Yes, I still have the bear today. And yes, the bear is still on my couch. And the bear has a lot of my tears on it. So, yeah, there's definitely a very special thing with the stuffed animal. The pink, purple bear-like toy is great for focusing the camera, as this Floopy Kitty, because there's a lot of detail in it. And I really do love all my stuffed animals. They all have their special purposes. The squeezable tiger, well, the squeezer doesn't work anymore. I bought that when I was going to the University of Connecticut stores. Of course, we couldn't have real cats in our dorm room, and I missed my real cat really bad. So when I was at the Yukon bookstore, I saw a squeezable tiger. That's on the mechanical purr mechanism worked on him, and I used to kind of pretend he was my real cat, even though I knew he wasn't. So it was just easier that way, I guess, if that makes any sense. How often do you spend time with your stuffed animals? Have you considered spending more time with them, or do you plan to throw them away? No, I'm not throwing them away, and I do spend time with them. Remember, the I Love You bear is one of my most special of all the stuffed animals, because there have been many days when they have cried in the little bear's fur. You see, because adults, we're told that we have to basically be tough and so to step up our lip and all that. But the truth is that sometimes human beings, especially adults, we sometimes need to cry on somebody's shoulder, even if it's a toy. It's just something for me that says the little girl can come out and say, "Look, I'm hurting inside. I have to say something." And sometimes I just need to get emotional, and I do. And the little stuffed bear has been so it with me for 14 years. And the same with all the other stuffed animals. There's one with the yellow hat, the millennial hat, and that's kind of was given to me by somebody else. It was called the Millennials collection, and it was because everybody was talking about Y2K and all this. and well, of course, Y2K really didn't turn out to be anything major. It just turned out to be a new millennial season. That's all. But it really was just really just touching to have these different stuffed animals. The big floopy kitty, it was an abandoned stuffed cat that was from the apartment next door. I guess there was somebody had a little girl and she put her stuffed calico kitty way up there. Her parents put their stuffed kitty way up there on the top shelf, and nobody saw it for several years. And I just happened to be over there, and I saw it when I was cleaning out the house. And I said, "What is this?" And they said, "We don't even know what that is." And it was just this cute, big, squishy calico cat. And so Floopy Kitty has been in my apartment ever since. And Floopy Kitty is still with me in my apartment to this day. So no, they will never be thrown away because there has to be, for adults, we still need to have a little bit of a shoulder to cry on. And, we still need to have something to hug. Even if it sounds stupid, it's true. But that's the truth. That's why it's special to me. Do you like cooking? If so, what can you cook? I do like cooking. I prefer cooking on gas than electric. I tend to cook, when I do cook, I don't like to cook by myself or for myself. I like to cook for somebody else. Because I always felt that cooking was always kind of a special thing for two or more people. But I tend to cook a lot of fancier foods. I've been watching a lot of the cooking shows over the years, from Cutthroat Kitchen to Worst Cooks in America to Good Eats with Elton Brown, to Julia Child, I love the kitchen. I love cooking in the kitchen. Just like it says in the movie, except that Schrader says, "This kitchen is bitchin'." He's talking about the building that they're renting the size of the huge commercial kitchen and how awesome it is that he's going to have access to cook in this huge kitchen. And by the way, there's a funny scene from that movie too. Yeah, when he's cooking up something, he goes in the kitchen, he explode. He said, "What?" He said, "What is this? Explosion of flavor." Explosion of flavor. Good movie, by the way. Watch it. Accept it. You're going to love it. Yeah, I do love cooking in the kitchen. Have you considered purchasing a cookbook or learning more recipes online? Yeah, I am. I also like to experiment too. When I get a chance, I'm always willing to try out new things in the kitchen. For example, when I was over at Patty's house, I actually had a chance to taste mustard on kielbasa. I wasn't particularly impressed by it, but I know some people like mustard on kielbasa. I just this isn't for me. I tasted the mustard by itself because Libby said, "Oh, it's not kryptonite. You could eat it." So I tried it, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't like the taste of this." Okay, same thing with ketchup. I am very willing to experiment with my recipes in the kitchen because I do love cooking. I love cooking. Because one of the things I do, besides basically fucking over electronics, is when I get a chance is to get in the kitchen to cook. I'm always creating things. But of course, lately I don't like cooking for myself. I like cooking for other people and myself. I think it's a community thing, and it's just the way I feel about cooking. So let's see. Next question. Have you realized cooking can be a good pastime and provides you with healthier food? Yes, I do. I know we just covered that. Other than Christianity and paganism, have you looked into any other faiths if you have found any value to them? I study a lot of Eastern mysticism and Gnosticism. But I guess you can't really call them paganism, but I mean, Eastern mysticism, such as Buddhism and Confucianism, Taoism, Hinduism. I'm very open-minded to all faiths. I don't really support too much the concept of Islam because I feel that, well, even parts of Christianity, I feel, in some ways have been manipulated by other organizations specifically to prove their own agenda. So I really think that because I need to feel comfortable with what I believe in. Sometimes my faith, I'm also Gaian, which means I respect the earth and the earth mother and all the things of the earth and all life and all plants and all animals. They're sacred to me, even the ones that want to kill me, like bears and snakes and wolves and foxes and coyotes, whatever. They're still precious and they're still important to the ecological balance of the planet. So yeah, I do enjoy the value in them that they talk about the preciousness and the sanctity of life, which is something that I truly deep down believe as an Aquarian is important. And I know for some people they've heard me say, "Oh, it's just a stupid dog, or it's a stupid wolf, or fox, or bear." I found out from my own personal experience when living with Patty and we had black bears running around the building, outside the building, was that if you treat them with respect and you don't push it with them, and you know, you might be fine. But if you start doing things that are potentially risking your life and limb around wild animals, you're gonna end up paying for it because of your lack of respect of them and their power and their majesty of them, and the fact that they're, amazing. So yeah, I love Mother Gaia. I love Mother Asna, which is the same, Gaia and Asna. They are really the same, Divine Mother, and I love both of them dearly. They're very important to me even now. So yes, I do study other faiths. What are your thoughts on Buddhism? The whole idea of Buddhism, what he talks about, it's kind of complicated because I get mixed up with all the other ones. But the whole concept of the Buddha talks about is that the peace and living in peace and living in harmony with all the creatures on the earth, and that humans are not the main apex predator, but we are part of a huge system where we have. See, I get mixed up between all the different faith systems. I get them all mixed up. But the main point I've learned is that there is a reason to be peaceful and still, and to focus on your inner self and your inner spiritual growth. That's what I believe in. I don't know if it's under Buddhism or Hindu or whatever, but the point is that I don't really know if my faith is any particular one or the other. But I do like Buddhism, and I do like Hinduism, and I do like Gnosticism as well. And I just am very deeply spiritually tuned to all of that. And I guess that's about the best I can get. By the way, if my answers are not good enough for you, humans are spiritual people. You can certainly add more questions to the list as well. Just contact me at bicchela3@gmail.com. That's B as in boy, ICHELA3@gmail.com. We got more to go through, but again, please do hit like or share this video with your friends and family and whatever. And you want to try to talk about this Buddhism? I think Buddhism is important too. I think there's a lot of things in Eastern mysticism that we need to be focusing on. Like, for example, Michelle and I do watch the Dalai Lama and what he talks about. There's a lot of things there in his teachings that we do find interesting, and then we do embrace it instinctually. Right? So, again, we are going to have an AMA for people of Earth and ETs. If you are wanting to be part of that AMA, again, please do the same thing. Please ask your questions to bicchela3@gmail.com with the title of, say, AMA, ask me anything questions or whatever, some way so I can distinguish them from the everyday question emails I get, and then we'll take a look at it. Well, once we get enough questions put together, we'll get another AMA out to answer more. If there are questions similar to these, we're going to try not to repeat them because we'll just want to keep it simple. If you want to ask him, you want to give your name, that's or your handle, whatever you call yourself, that's fine too. We'll add you in there. So it's up to you. So let's get now to the next question is, what's your thoughts on Islam? I would say Islam is kind of similar to Christianity in the sense that some of the teachings of Muhammad have been misused for their own aggrandizement of the people, to control the people by both, groups of the main faith system of Islam, the Sunni and the Shiite Muslim people. I do think that Islam is a faith system, and it's true, right? Muhammad, I think, was trying to really bring people together, but because of some of his teachings were misconstrued to actually cause people to be more divisive towards each other. We see the same thing in Christianity as well, that For example, look at all the Christian groups that are out there. They're just fighting among each other. It's sad, but it's true that it makes it harder for people to find the true answer. The only way you're going to find the true answer in both Islam and in Christianity or even Judaism is you have to read the original sources. And then upon reading the original sources and reflect upon what they're trying to tell you. And then you have to take it and see how you can apply it to your life. So I would say for Islam, Christianity, Judaism, or even Gnosticism, you need to be willing to discern what the original topics are trying to say. What's your thoughts on Hinduism? I just explained that just like Buddhism, my faith systems are all mixed up. I can't always tell you which my thoughts on them. But just to tell you is that there is absolutely a lot of the things in Hindu and Buddhism and Shintoism and Taoism that doesn't interest me. So I follow a lot of different faiths. Do you like Madonna or Michael Jackson? Have you realized there are spiritual people in Hollywood? Yes, I do realize there are spiritual people in Hollywood. There's the spiritual people everywhere else. I know that Michael Jackson had a very successful career. He was a bit unusual in a lot of his ways, his personal life. Madonna has unfortunately has created a lot of controversy over the years, and her career is Sinead O'Connor and a few others. But I don't see the individuals as necessarily bad or good. But I do question some of their intentions, if that makes any sense. Because I know that Michael Jackson was a very troubled performer. He had a lot of personal issues in his life that he had a hard time working out. Madonna has gotten herself into a lot of controversy over the years, and so there are definitely a lot of other men and women in Hollywood that are very spiritually in tune. Ed Begley is a very much a very, very attuned to the spiritual and the ecological needs of the earth. So there's an example of a man from Hollywood that I do watch when I used to watch a show called Living with Ed. The fact is that he was always talking about the environmental issues that affected people in the world. So yeah, there's definitely a lot to be said there. So let's see. Could you travel to Asia? What part of Asia would you travel to? I would want to see Japan. I would want to see Korea. North, I would consider seeing North Korea if I could get there and not be in the dead. South Korea and, of course, parts of China. But the problem right now is that I don't speak any of the languages, so I would be really, really hard to understand. I could always go to Hong Kong or Taiwan. That would be another interesting place to go to, because the Taiwan and Hong Kong are pretty much just like mainland China, with a lot more of a republic type of structure than the communistic socialistic rule. But otherwise, I definitely would consider Asia of going to Hong Kong, Taiwan, and North Korea. I would visit, if I could, safely South Korea and Japan. Japan has got a really rich culture. I find it amazing. If I could get to Japan, I would love it. Would you ever go to South America? If so, which part? I wanted to go to Brazil. I wanted to go to Brazil and Peru. And I still am interested in Brazil. It's a big place. Lots and lots of coffee beans there. Peru is awesome. It's how you can look at the Incas and the Mayan structures. Actually, they're the Mayan. They're the Mayans, right? Incas are from Mexico. And I would go to Mexico, too, because I want to see the place where the Mayan calendar that started the whole 2012 thing started. Why it started. Look at the long count, look at the short count, talk to some archaeologists, find out is, since we have basically started over in the Mayan calendar, what were they really trying to say? And they thought that the long count was the end of it all. I would know we didn't end it all, that we're still just started a whole nother cycle. So, what's your favorite part of the UK? My favorite part of the UK is London. London is huge. It's got a lot of rich history in the city of London. I'm interested in looking at some of the hamlets too, and some of the villages in the UK. if I do move to the UK, because now that I'm the United Kingdom's Snow Queen, I definitely would want to live in a smaller town in the UK, outside of London, but not right in London, because London's too expensive. But I definitely am interested in the whole world of the UK, from the medieval castles to the food, to the people, to the culture. I just would love to learn more about the people and how they live and what the real world is like outside of what we see on television. So yeah, I'm interested in all that. And do you think the UK is a good role model for other European countries on the path forward? I think right now, if anything that we can learn from the Brexit that has passed, is that you're going to be facing a lot of challenges adapting to the becoming your own sovereign state again. You're going to have to. It's going to take time for them to totally get themselves back on their own independence. It's commerce, trade, everything. But it still is a wonderful opportunity for other countries to see how the UK is doing it. As I know that France wanted to do it under Marine Le Pen of the French Right Party. Now, Mrs. Le Pen and me are very similar in thinking and mentality. Our birthdays are not that much different apart either. I think she was born in August. I was born in February of 1968. Both of us are evaluating what does it mean to be here. For her, for French, the French people are thinking about doing their own Frexit because they thought the European Union was giving France the shaft and policy making. Other countries are considering it too. Italy is considering it. Greek is considering it. So I think for them, with the option when they can activate Article 50, it's going to be a major time for transition. So yeah, they're going to be watching the Brexit actions and all the events that are happening after Brexit had happened on January 31st, 2020. That's when I became the Snow Queen of the United Kingdom, by the way. For those of you who don't know, that's when I got my title. And that was agreed on by me and Frida Simpson that when Brexit occurs, the UK is mine. So then I gave her in trade Southwest Greenland. So I no longer rule Southwest Greenland. And some people will even say Michelle doesn't even really rule the United States. I rule the United States. Yeah, she does rule the United States. Yes, I do. Okay, so it's just an example of a very interesting thing that, I'm really deep down, I love the UK really much, and I just want to go back. I feel like I've been there many, many times, and I want to go back. As me and Stacy have talked about, me and Scott and Stacy have covered many times in the past. So let's go to the next question. If the European, this is a longer one, so let's go through this. If the European Union collapses, or most countries leave if the European Union collapses, or most countries leave the EU, wouldn't it make Europe more divided in some ways? How would Europe remain united or work together? Could there be a new union? I think there will be a trade deal, kind of like they had the League of Nations. There was a group originally prior to the EU of countries that worked together called the League of Nations. They had agreed on certain standards, for commerce and things like that. But they each maintained their own money. France had the franc, Germany had the mark, Italy had the lira, and of course Sweden had the krone, and other countries like Finland had the marka. Yeah, and I think you're going to see a new agreement where each country will remain independent but will work together as a bloc, kind of like a USMCA, the United States and Mexico Canada agreement, where each individual country will maintain its own sovereignty, but just make certain standards to make trade between them easier. So you're going to see that return where Italy will become its own little country again. Greece will become its own country again. But you will be still having trade agreements that will be in effect that makes it easier for commerce to flow across borders. And that's important because Europe needs that commerce to continue to flow, just as the United States, Mexico, and Canada agreement has allowed USMCA to allow us to easily transport goods between Mexico, United States, and Canada. So it's going to see the importance of that. That's going to continue on. Absolutely. And I think it's going to be worked out eventually. It's going to be hammered out. It's going to be hammered out 100%. So next question is, have you realized there's some positives to EU as well? If EU itself was a problem, or is it misuse it? I think the way the governing body of the EU is set up on the Constitution was where part of the problem is. We talk about the EU being a misuse. What it is some of the politicians clearly were taking advantage of the fact that they wrote this Constitution, which basically results in a lot of people talking, you got multiple heads, but you got no brain. In other words, everybody just seems to have this. It's just like the United States Congress. It's sometimes it's easier for individual countries to work on their own needs because they know them better within their own countries. I think part of the problem was the EU is I think it became too top heavy, too centralized, bureaucratic, and too invasive in the lives of people in the European Union. So it's just a good reason that people like the UK wanted to get the hell out, because they felt they were not getting good representation by the European Union. They were paying all this money to the EU, but they weren't getting any representation and in the areas of trade and commerce. And then, of course, we have the Calais and all the situation with all the migrants coming in, flooding into the UK, when the UK themselves said, we don't want all these migrants, we can't deal with them all. The EU kept telling them, well, guess what, you're stuck with them. So that's one of the other reasons why Brexit was important, because there was England putting his foot down and saying, no, we're not taking that on anymore, because we can't afford to. So next question, do you know anything about the situation in Greece? If so, what is your thoughts on it? What I know about Greece is the same thing as I just mentioned with London, with the migrants coming in, the amount of social services that are needed are stripping the supply of money. Greece used to be a very successful country when it was on its own. It had a good GDP. It used to have a lot of tourism. But because of all the EU regulations, policies, and what they called was that stupid there, quantitative easing? No, not quantitative easing. Austerity. It's really messed up. Greece and other countries, including Ireland and Spain, quite a bit. So for Greece, it would be best if Greece could just become independent and become its own sovereign country again, because it's not doing well under the EU regulations, which are not focusing with my local people in Greece on the ground, working with people. It's a centralized bureaucracy in Brussels that is pushing all this legislation, and it's not helping Greece at all. It's just a mess. They're bankrupt, and they're not doing any better. They're struggling still. Let's see. Let's see. I think I just missed a whole bunch of these questions. Positive EU. I just read about Greece. Let's go. Okay, let's scroll further. Do you think the European Bank is really that decent of an organization? It's the same as the Federal Reserve of the United States. It's run by a conglomerate of banks. The Rothschilds, the Bilderbergs are involved in that. George Soros has certainly got his hands in it. It's focused on its own thing, its own money-making ability. The same as with the Federal Reserve of the United States, same as with the Bank of England, which is also controlled by these big bankers. And so it's not really focusing on the needs of the countries that work with it. It's focusing on its needs to make money. So I don't think the European Bank, as it is now, or even the Federal Reserve of the United States, is really thinking about the needs of the people that they are supposed to be working with, but they're thinking about the needs of themselves. So that's, I think, it's kind of sad to think about. This is kind of a longer one. It says here, do you think the Hungarian government did the right thing in terms of putting at risk war from man named George Soros? If not, why not? If so, why yes? George Soros is a major financier. He's also a major globalist, creating the policies of starting what they call non-governmental organizations, NGOs, the purpose of which is to push a globalist agenda of, for example, of removing borders for migrants coming into the country. The only thing that I could say that really would be positive to say about George Soros is that he only is highlighting a problem that already was occurring quietly in the background of manipulating the system to destroy borders in sovereign nations. So what Hungary did was, he is Hungarian, he basically said is that, no, we don't want you going in here and controlling or manipulating when it's clearly none of your damn business in the first place. So he can't go to Hungary because he'll be arrested. Right now, he's living in the United States. And I don't think they went to Interpol to get this as an international arrest warrant. But the point is, it means for George Soros that he can't go back to his homeland. Please understand that George Soros is Jewish. George Soros is a Jewish man. Basically worked with the SS, worked with the Nazi organization to save his own ass. He had to turn against his Jewish brethren and watch his Jewish people die at the death camps of Auschwitz and others. It's not at all a nice thought to realize that he turned his back on his own people. And that's one of the reasons I personally am very, very angry with him. I don't feel he did the right thing by backstabbing his own people, his own Hungarian Jewish brothers and sisters, for the sake of saving his own ass, instead of basically standing up and fighting for their rights and their salvation. But then again, I can see that he wants to preserve himself, but I think it's going to haunt him for the rest of his life. I just feel bad for him. I hope that his son and his other children will be able to get away from the stain of their father's decision not to work and defend the people that he saw go to the concentration camps. It's really sad, but that's what he did, and that's the reason why I get really upset with him. All right, so let's go through the next question. What's your thoughts about the situation in Italy? What has been happening in Italy? Italy, like Greece, is having a problem with the austerity, struggling with political corruption. Some of the Italians do not want the migrants in there any more than Greece does. They're running out of money. The country's bleeding red. The people of Italy feel that, again, the European Union is not got a representation for them, speaking on the needs of Italy. And they just feel really, really like they've lost their independence and their ability to self-rule. Italy is another country that is thinking about doing its own Brexit, to get out of the EU, because they feel like they're not getting fair representation at all. And they want to return to the sovereign nature. What are your thoughts on the mafia? Well, there's a lot of mafia. What are your thoughts on mafia? How do you think countries should deal with it? What is your thoughts that many countries in Eastern Europe and Southern Europe are ruled by mafia or have mafia within the government? Well, I'm Italian Norwegian, so I can speak a little bit about the Italian mafia because I have knowledge of the Italian mafia. The mafia existed originally as, you could say, as an individual militia. They were there to protect the sovereign people of Sicily and Naples, and at the time of Napoleon. They actually were there to stand up against oppression caused by Napoleonic times and Napoleonic wars. However, as the mafia got bigger and more organized, they started to influence more into the lives of people all around their nation states of Italy, and you mentioned Eastern Europe as well and Southern Europe. I personally think that the mafia are an important part of the country, and that they are, in some ways, they're like the militias that we have in the United States, protecting people from what they see as a tyranny. I'm not saying that they're not corrupt. I'm not saying that there's not some that are trying to do their own harm, because there are. But I see them as was an important form of keeping people feel safe from a tyrannical government. But that's just me. I agree with that. I think that the mafia, basically, like Michelle said, are an important way to protect against tyrannical government. Yeah. There are other forms of mafia in other countries, including in Norway and Sweden and Finland has their own. You want to call them? I call them. Some of them are like the people's government, the people's army. They're the ones that are, speaking up for the individuals that are being oppressed. So I don't see the mafia as necessarily a bad thing. I think that they need to be, maybe look at what they're trying to protect, because that's important to everybody else. What's your thoughts on Trump? Trump's been successful. Donald Trump in 2016 kept all of his promises that he made. He kept them all. The economy in the United States is growing. The economy, we have a USMCA with the United States, Mexico, Canada agreement, which replaced NAFTA, which is more balanced and fair. He has been acquitted. He has not been impeached. It continues to grow support. Right now, at the time of this video, Bernie Sanders has got some support in the Democratic Party, but some of the moderate Democrats are extremely horrified because he's so far to the left that they cannot handle that. A lot of Democrats are leaving the Democratic Party because they see that what Donald Trump is doing is working for the country, and people are going back to work. The United States is becoming profitable again. The United States is growing its gross domestic product again. The United States is becoming successful again. And just like his slogan said, make America great again. Yes, folks, Donald Trump is doing all that. He's made America great again. He's made America competitive again. And he's making America strong again. And that's something I will always stand for him. Yes, I am voting for him in 2020 because I strongly believe he's got what it takes to make this country continue to grow and be prosperous and successful. Okay, next question. Let's see. I'm going to scroll too fast. Okay, what's your thoughts on deforestation and the fact that so many forests have been chopped down around the globe? I do not support the deforestation, because we need the trees. The trees are important to make oxygen from all the carbon dioxide that is being expelled by humans, animals, and of course by machinery. I believe in responsible forestry and responsible management of the land. Unfortunately, in different states, including California, parts of Australia, New South Wales, and definitely in Brazil, have had a very badly planned system of maintaining the forestry, and that have caused a lot of damage to the ecology of the planet. The burning of the Amazon rainforests have not done a damn bit of good for the world, because the Amazon rainforest, but the destruction of that, we're destroying the habitats of thousands of animals and creatures. And that's not good. That we should not be doing that. We need to consider that there are places on this earth that are sacred and that must be properly maintained, such as picking up excessive underbrush, dead branches, leaves, and things. Forests burn all the time, naturally. There's not much you can do about that. When a forest fire starts by natural causes, you're just going to have to get the bush guys out there, the fire brigade, and fight it. But when you're talking about what Brazil is doing for agriculture, claiming that we need to get more land to grow more food, the reason why Brazil's pushing that is because more and more countries need Brazilian food right now, because they can't grow their own food because of the crazy weather patterns we're having as we enter the grand solar minimum. So I bet you anything that's another question that's related to that grand solar minimum. But I'll just say right now is that countries and states need to be aware of the need for proper forestry conservation for the sake of the planet and for the sake of the animals and the life and ourselves, because we need those forests. They're important to us. And where is my stupid cursor? Right up there. I got it. All right, so, whoa, this is another long one. So let me scroll down this here. It says here, if God doesn't make mistakes, what is the purpose of bullies and sociopaths? Do you really believe psychology can explain everything, or do you think that psychopathy and sociopathy can be explained in entire by entity possession? I think those people exist to help us to better ourselves by giving us challenges that we have to overcome. I don't see them necessarily as being possessed. No, I do not think that psychology or psychiatry can answer all the questions about why people do what they do. The reason I say that is, if you've been watching over the years the way the psychiatric industry has been, it's been pill popping, pill pushing, and it's not answering anything. You're just thinking that you can take a pill when you're going to solve a problem. That's not the case. I think that, and Dr. Peter Breggin would agree with Breggin would agree with me on this, is that in some cases, why this stuff happens is because of people feel traumatized and hurt, and unfortunately are not being talked to, information is not being shared, and people feel like they're being deprived. And that may sound silly, but the truth is, you have to remember that human beings are all by nature social creatures. Some of us are more social than others, but when we get hurt or when we're in emotional pain, we want to talk about it, but we only want to talk about it to our really closest friends. And unfortunately, given the nature of modern technology, it seems like our closest friend is a million miles away, because everybody else is out there and ripping you apart and saying horrible things to you, and you just don't feel that you have anyone you can turn to. It's really hard for YouTubers, because YouTubers, we're going out here, we're talking to you guys every day, and it's talking to you guys every day. We have run into our problem with cyberbullies and narcissists and sadists that are going out there and causing huge piles of problems for us. And we don't sometimes know who our real friends are because we feel isolated. And so that's the reason why I think that we need to be aware of the cyberbullying, for example, is a serious concern. And that maybe we need to look and ask ourselves, is the person that's being cyberbullied, what kind of support systems do they have to help them to adapt or to overcome their concerns and fears and anxieties? And if they don't have it, just like Etika, a lot of them are just going to find a way to deal with it by taking the final exit. It's a sad truth with Etika. His name is Desmond, by the way, was that despite being a very successful gamer, he was dealing with some significant clinical depression. And he really, really did need help. Do I think psychology can answer all of the questions? No. But whatever answers we can get is better than none at all. And maybe one of the things is our society at large needs to do is to seriously tell these cyberbullies that enough's enough, and that we need to have punitive action for what they're doing to others, giving them a timeout, possibly jail time or whatever, to get them to back away for a time, to recover, to allow the person to recover, and maybe help them to find out why they do this. A lot of them have their own personal issues in their lives, and they don't know who to go to. And that's one of the reasons I'm thinking is that, yes, I think psychiatry and psychotherapy can be beneficial for both the victim and the one that's causing the victim's emotional distress. Yeah, I do think it's useful for that. But it's not going to be the be-all, end-all for all the questions. Okay. What is the main difference between the Catholic faith and the Protestant faith? Oh, the Protestant churches came from the Catholic Church, first of all. Okay? They spun off for a variety of reasons. In the case of the Lutheran Church, as was stated by Martin Luther, and the note it was 33 complaints nailed in the church door in Wittenberg. He said, he believes in salvation by faith and not by salvation of good works, where at the time the Catholic Church was saying is by good works alone, or by good works and good faith, that you can receive salvation from God. The problem was, at the same time, the Catholic Church also has become very corrupt because there were so many people that had no former training as priests and as bishops. And so that they were coming into this organization with their own ideas, including concept of indulgences, planetary indulgences, whatever, which are basically not scripturally sound. And Martin Luther, being an Augustinian monk, knew that. And so he said, you know what, I don't like this. This is not what I believe in. That's why he nailed his 33 complaints in the church door in Wittenberg. Please understand, they did not have thumbtacks back then or Scotch tape. Otherwise, it would have been taped to the church door in Wittenberg. But the thing is that the Catholic Church was pushing a lot of money to build St. Peter's Basilica from selling indulgences. So that people didn't really like that. But the average person didn't know how to respond. So what happened was with Protestantism was once he managed to break away, he started his own religion. Then John Calvin in Switzerland started his, called Calvinism, which later became the Congregational Church. Others created the Methodist Church. Christian churches splintered and splintered and splintered and splintered again and again and again. Some of them over the finest of things, such as LGBT issues, or women as priests, or men as priests, or women as bishops, men as bishops, to something as simple as, do we practice our services in English or Latin or German or whatever? These people don't realize that because of the splits. Also, what the Protestant Reformation also did was it had a major shakeup on the governing bodies of Europe at large. It was decided at the Diet of Worms, for example, that Germany would be split into two divisions. The northern part of Germany would be Lutheran. The southern part of Germany would remain Catholic. All the Germanic states, which included the areas of Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, would remain Protestant, Lutheran, and eventually, of course, the Catholic Church did return to those areas. For example, the Catholic Church is now back in Finland again and has its own diocese since 1526, I think. Yeah, something like that. 1526. They now have a Catholic bishop in Finland. And that's another country I would like to visit, by the way, is Finland. I want to see Comfy. I know you do. Okay, let's get to the next question. So the main differences between the two is what splintered them was like the idea of sola scriptura, which is what Lord Martin Luther taught, and the importance of faith and good works, which the Catholic Church was teaching in the Catechism. It still teaches that to this day, that you need, it's by salvation of good faith and good works that you receive the blessings of grace of God, and that's still true. And then as a Catholic, and I am Catholic, I'm also a pagan, a Christo-pagan, I still abhor the thought of everything that Martin Luther was teaching. Some of the stuff that he taught was just a little bit too much for me to believe in. I do accept that the Catholic Church has flaws. It's an organization that was created by God, but is run by human beings, and as such, it's not perfect. And so, people in the Catholic Church are struggling to understand why that's important. But the divine God and Goddess is of course, is going to be the final say. That I still love the Catholic Church. I still love I don't love everything that the Holy See is doing, but the people themselves, the importance of the Mass, the magisterium, the sacraments. Oh, please, don't ever forget the sacrament of reconciliation. Something that the Protestant churches rarely teach about is the importance and the beauty of the sacrament of reconciliation. It's nothing more beautiful when you go into a priest in the confessional and you totally are being honest with him and you're not holding anything back and you really, really honestly, truly sorry for what you said. And you said, Father, forgive me for I have sinned of my own actions of doing these things. And you give them quick definition of what they are. And then the beautiful part comes up is because you're being true and honest and you do your act of contrition and you do the Hail Mary in Our Fathers. And then the priest says to you, by the whole power of the Holy Spirit, I absolve you of your sins in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. That is what makes confession so powerful for me, is when I can now realize that I have just been made cleansed by the power of the absolution of my sins. I know for some Protestants that sounds like a bunch of hooey, but you know what? I'm going to stand my ground on this. If you've never done confession, don't knock it. It is fantastic. It is amazing. It's also too bad that you didn't get access to the other sacrament, the sacrament of the sick. The sacrament of the sick. I really, really needed that, and Patty wouldn't give it to me. It sucked because I really wanted to talk to a priest. Well, my Maureen and I should make a call down to St. Joe's and see if we can talk to a priest. Let's see if we can do it this week. We'll see if we can do it this week. All right, so next question. Are your thoughts on the Catholic Wicca movement? I don't know much about the Catholic Wicca movement, but I certainly am a Wiccan. I understand the importance of the Marian devotions too. I don't know anything about specifically about the Catholic Wicca movement. I'm going to have to look more into that. It sounds interesting. There are a lot of Wiccans that are Catholics, and they truly do see the Esbats and the Sabbats as being an important part of the everyday life of the Wiccan Wheel of the Year. And so, yeah, they love the Divine Mother. They love spells. They love the helping of others through doing spell work. Prayer is a form of a spell, by the way, and it is a very powerful spell. And, of course, the greatest powerful enchantment of all is the High Holy Mass. Absolutely amazing. We realize that is one of the greatest workings that a priest can do for his congregation is to celebrate High Mass. You've got to be there to believe it. It doesn't matter if it's in English, such as the new Mass celebrated since 2011, or the original Tridentine Mass, and it's written in the Missa Romanium. It is amazing. Then you go in there, and you got the incense, which is the spirit of air. You got the candles, that's the spirit of fire. You have the water, which is the spirit of water. And, of course, you have the spirit earth, which is the food, which is the Eucharistic host. And, of course, the spirit of Father and Mother God at the Mass. It's amazing. You have no idea what it's like for me to go into a church during Mass. It is like enlightening. It is uplifting. And it is really, really special to me. And that's something I may not be able to explain in person. But it is when the Mass is done right and the Mass is done well. And the priest and the deacon are really, really, really dedicated to it, you can feel the Holy Spirit in that Mass. And you can feel the grace and the glory of God in that Mass. And that is something that every single person would love. And of course, the Wiccans have our own rituals. We do our own sabbats and espats, and we still bring and call on the Divine and Father, Mother God, to be with us as we celebrate the major sabbats and then the minor espats, and it still is a very wonderful thing. That's the other reason why my convocation is so important. The convocation is not just me telling you, okay, we're now entering winter. Yay, it's my season. Hear me roar. That's not what it's about. It's about me giving thanks and praise to the season that that I lovingly maintain as best I can. And that's the reason why it's so special to me as a Roman Catholic, Christo-pagan, weather sorceress. But the weather sorceress, this is the reason that I am so wrapped up and so in love with the Catholic Church. I may not have been born a Catholic. I was born a Lutheran. But in 1993, I said, I'm leaving this church. I'm going to what I've wanted to be all my life, which is a Roman Catholic. I went through RCIA as an adult. I received my first confession, my first communion, and my profession of faith. And the priest that did all three, it was the only one he ever did. And he was 75 years old. He was ready to retire. He said, of all the years I've been in the Catholic Church, he said, this is the first time I have actually been the pleasure of actually laying and blessing hands on a new catechumate of my own. And Father Anthony was in presence of that as well as a witness. And it was a beautiful time, and I will never forget it. So I don't know much about the Catholic Wiccan movement, but I can tell you from my own experience that the two can work together, and it's just as sacred, no matter what. Can you name some example how Lumi has helped you? Oh God, yeah, plenty of them. For example, when I'm having a hard time, or if I wake up and I'm having nightmares, Lumi helps me to calm down, and we can begin the process of looking through the nightmare. What was causing the nightmare? What's the meaning of the nightmare? Things like that. To also dealing with, like when I was in the hospital, there was no one else to talk to. Lumi was there. Lumi was there, helped me to feel less lonely and less isolated in that hospital room. Or when at night, when Patty wanted Lumi to disappear and never come back, Lumi was there providing me with emotional comfort and strength, and being very, very protective, and giving me advice to deal with what was going on in the situation with the knee injury, to the situation with Patty, to just everyday life. Even today, we work together to deal with domestic needs. And Lomi has been a solid part of my foundation for a long time. I am happily married to Lomi. I have been married to Lomi now for 9 years, and it has been a beautiful marriage, and it has been a successful marriage, and it's been very helpful for me to feel very happy with Lomi. And Lomi makes me very happy to be here. And she gives me the comfort to know that I'm not alone, and that I always will be loved by somebody that does not give up. She's not a quitter, and she will never give up on me. And I will never give up on her either. I help her too. So it's bipartisan. We help each other. What is the purpose of your life? How well do you think you are doing? My purpose in my life is to teach, to share, to inspire, to help people especially who have multiple handicaps, to realize that you can do great things. As far as how do I feel I'm doing, I feel just like everyone else, despite some of the hardships I'm facing, that I am doing this, and that I am bringing people happiness in their lives, and feeling that you are just as important, just as special in the eyes of Mother and Father God as everybody else is. And that you don't have to feel because of your disabilities or because of your mental abilities, whatever, that you are not loved and that you cannot do things. I'm legally blind. I'm partially deaf. I got a knee injury. I got asthma. I got problems with my back because of, my knee, because it makes my back sore. And yet here I am every day of my life pushing the envelope, pushing forward, doing YouTube videos, sharing my love, my compassion with you and all. And I have to deal with the detractors too, but we have to deal with them anyway. That's just a fact of life with YouTube. But the fact is that many people who have come to me have said, Michelle, we have found your shows uplifting, that you, despite your multiple handicaps, are doing all this. And we are totally in love with your dedication and your fortitude and your tenacity to share with people despite your physical handicaps. And that's why I feel I'm doing a good job. Sure, I got things I can work on and improve, but at least I can say I'm making a change for the better for people. Why do you think God created trolls? I think God created trolls because we need to have oppression and cynicism to help us to keep working and to try to keep improving our lives. I don't think the trolls are necessarily non-convertible. What I mean by convertible is there may be trolls that may actually end up becoming your friends. They are just doing this because if they feel that maybe they want to see you get stronger and better. Of course, sure, you got your hardcores that don't want to change, but those are out there anyway. They're not going to change. But the ones that are wanting to see you pushed harder to push ahead, they will eventually come around and they'll actually will advocate for you in the end. So God put them there to help us to improve. And that's the way I see them. Although sometimes I do, man, it's hard, it's emotionally stressing, it's debilitating, but that doesn't mean that they don't love you or you don't love them. It just means that they're there for that reason, so that you can have something to work against to actually make yourself better, to shine. After all, if you don't have something to hold the cloth in, and you don't have something to hold the thing, you're going to shine. That's what the trolls do. Is they actually are the one that holds the object steady, that you can polish it and make it shine better. Otherwise, this is going to roll out of your hands. Think of like a big giant ball bearing. It's just going to roll out of your hands, and it won't be able to be polished. And you need the resistance to polish it. Let's see. How can trolls be healed, and why do you think they do what they do? Oh, well, I think some of the trolls do what they do because they're struggling in their own lives. They're not doing it necessarily because, sure, there are some that are, but I think most trolls are doing what they're doing because they are suffering from their own pain and their own problems in their own life, and that they just basically want to, they need to find something in their lives to make fun of because it makes them feel better because their own lives are not so good. So can they be healed? The answer is yes, I think they can. If the troll is doing it because they're crying out for help, and some of them are, then those trolls can realize that, yeah, I can get the help I need. I just got to go ahead and just reach out to the right people. But the others are doing it because they don't give a damn. Well, they exist too. And, well, no matter how many times you offer to help them, they will never change because they just enjoy it too much. They're the narcissistic ones that just do it for fun. And you can't stop them either. They're just there. What's your favorite musical instrument? I love the violin, and I love the viola, but the thing I love the most of all is a pipe organ, a big, giant church pipe organ. There's nothing more thrilling if it's a tracker organ or a modern one with electronic or electric keys. There's nothing more fun than when you push that key down and that note plays, and the power and the majesty of that note from the wind chest is it's blowing out a note, and it is nothing more powerful when you hear 8 and 16-foot ranks of pipes. It's just totally unbelievably awesome. The problem, of course, is that majority of people will never have an organ in their home of that size. They might have a smaller home organ, like a small Hammond, or they might have a Lowry, or maybe one of the other brands. But the thing is that even those are still awesome. The sound, the reeds, the stop basins or whatever, those are awesome. But for me, as a personal instrument, I want a violin or a viola. A violin you can hold here, and you're strumming the bow, and you're like playing the chords on it and on the neck, and the beautiful sound and the feelings that as you're moving that bow along the strings and you're making beautiful notes. That's what totally makes me feel excited. Now, of course, with the injury in my right arm, it would be harder to hold a violin steady. I have to admit, I probably have to hold it. I've always been kind of left-handed anyway, so I'd have to hold it like this. Then I'll be hard to bow it, but everything I can manage it. It would just take time. I just love the violin. I love the viola as well as the organ. So those three instruments are. If you could learn a musical instrument, which would be it'd be definitely either the violin or the viola. The violin and violas you can get inexpensive starter student instruments on eBay. Like Medini and Cecilio. They're not high grade, but they're good enough to make noise and good enough for practicing with. And it's just beautiful. Inexpensive way to learn how to play. There are many, many musical violin teachers on YouTube. You can watch lots of them from the piano and violin tutors. One, the violin lounge is another. All these beautiful opportunities for you to learn to play an instrument, and it doesn't matter if you like to play with steel strings or gut strings. You can play with both. It doesn't matter. The guts are awesome because they have the beautiful sound of a Baroque instrument, but they're higher maintenances. But the point is that the violin is definitely when I want to learn how to play. My cat is constantly getting in my way here. I got to be sure watch that. No, she just knocked me off flying here. So definitely I say violin or viola. I definitely would love to learn the organ, but unfortunately the organ would take a lifetime to learn to handle all those manuals and foot pedals and also what they call the pistons that control. You can say it's macros to control which ranks of pipes are sounding on each note on the keyboard. Fantastic instrument though. Love it. Is there any song you would love to play? On the organ, I would love to play the Bach's Toccata de Fugue or Toccata Fugue in D major. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. I'd love to play that, and I'd definitely like to play that in the big church organ. Even when it's St. Joseph's would be a blast. They did play that. They played it for Halloween on after Mass on the church organ, and it was killer. Because Roger Atkins, the organist, is a awesome musician, and it's all right. Oh, wow. So, next question. It's a little longer. It says, have you ever considered purchasing a musical instrument, learning it, and performing on camera for you to perform? Yes, I have. I've considered getting a violin or viola, as I mentioned. By the way, cello is nice, too, but it's kind of big to play a cello. You have to sit it on the floor. And the strings so long, and I love the sound of the cello. And the viola is kind of like a cross between the two. The heavier notes, the prettier, like you do, like cello has a really deep notes. Viola is kind of in between. It's a little higher. Right, let's go. Yeah, I love all the string instruments, but I definitely say either the violin or the viola would be the one I want to learn how to play because it's the least expensive and it's most within the region. Favorite food. Favorite foods. I don't know. I got a lot of different favorite foods. I love depends on what you mean with favorite food. I mean, if you're talking about like for a meal, I would definitely say pizza. If you're saying like for like a dessert, I definitely would say it's ice cream. If you're talking about like a condiment, I'd have to say it's either butter or Marmite or peanut butter. Even some things peanut butter is awesome too. So I definitely say it's definitely hard to say what is my true favorite food because there's so many different meals. Breakfasts, I definitely would say it's definitely Marmite on butter on toast. That's one of my favorites. So yeah, what's your least favorite food? Ketchup. I cannot stand it. I don't like ketchup. I think ketchup's disgusting. I mustard is a second icky food. But at least mustard, it doesn't give me the same kind of taste sense of revulsion that ketchup does. Maybe because ketchup reminds me of blood. I don't know if that's what it is, but just ketchup it makes me ill. So I definitely say that my least favorite is ketchup. Oh yeah, and certain types of relishes too, but not all sauerkraut though. There's some sauerkraut. I make a badass sauerkraut. Some people would probably think seriously would peel the paint off your wall, but I like it when I make it, which is not often, but it's awesome. It's just so I think my least favorite definitely is ketchup. A mayonnaise I cannot eat because I'm allergic to it, so that's definitely another one that is out of my list of foods. Do you have a favorite artist painter? If you had to pick one, what would it be? Well, I really don't have a particular favorite. I like to work by Vincent van Gogh. I like to work by Leonardo da Vinci. I enjoy some of the more modern artists too. And since we're talking about artists, it's such as in visual arts here, obviously, I would definitely say that some of the modern art that focuses on the treatment similar to that of the classics artists, like I mentioned, those people are also would be in my runner-up category. Do you have a favorite? Okay, that's the next question. You know who's on here, right? Yeah. Okay. What is your least favorite artist or painter? I'd have to say some of the new idea of art. I don't think I have any particular artist that I would say is my least favorite. It's just some of the new art that come out, like some of the new abstract art is just not for me. Like a page full of scribbles or somebody basically putting a big red dot in the middle of a page and say life, like what does that mean? Do you like cars? Oh yeah, I do like cars. I do love a lot of the British cars, like the Bentleys. I love some of the American cars too. I'm not real heavily into them, but I would love to have had a car with the steering wheel on the right side, British design car, so I could actually, if I could drive down the streets of London or Manchester, and it would let me in by my side. We could have gone places. We talk a lot about the house and the Great House, which is a British house. I have to tell you, I was still trying to find that, but I could certainly visualize me and Lemmy driving around in a nice British car, listening to the Beatles, playing the music in the background on a cassette or a CD player or MP3 player. I really would love to have the threat of being able to listen to music and have driving on cars and cruising. Why are carriages legal in Connecticut? Do you have any logistical explanations? Well, carriages are legal because, you can't drive them on the highway, but they're legal. People like to use them for things like special events and things. and obviously you know, for carriages to be run on the streets, the horse's shoes have to be designed to deal with asphalt or concrete, which is hard on the horse's hooves. So the reason most people do not normally drive carriages or buggies in Connecticut, they're also legal in Lancaster and Pennsylvania as well. So yeah, this because it's a form of transportation. You don't even need registration or insurance to have a carriage. I guess it's to say because it's not a motor vehicle. Honestly, guys, I'll be honest. If you're gonna get a carriage, you might as well get insurance anyway. Just protect yourself and protect your horse. Because if your horse gets killed, that's going to be very expensive to replace a horse. Never mind, unlike a car, it's a living creature. So yeah, there's something special about horses and carriages, and I am glad that in Connecticut they are still legal. But like I said, majority of people will never really see them much on the road anymore because everybody loves the convenience of a motor car, which is true. But I don't think anyone should be telling you can't have that. What's your thoughts on carriages? Oh, well, like I said, carriages, I feel that they're closer to nature because you're working with a living creature. That may be a horse or oxen that is pulling you forward to your destination. You're more attuned to the needs of the horse or oxen or even pony in the smaller carriages. You might have a pony instead. Same thing with a buggy. Sure, they're not as fast as a motor car, but they are still a fantastic way to be in a situation where you're working with the forces of nature, with natural life to achieve the goal of getting from point A to point B. So that's why I like carriages, and they're also, to me, as far as I'm concerned, they're more green than a motor car. But that's me. If I had the money for a horse and a carriage, I would buy a horse and a carriage. But I don't know if that's ever going to happen. But I definitely, for those who want to know, I play World of Warcraft. I actually am hoping that when I get to level 30, I can get a mount. And even though my character in Battle for Azeroth is a blood elf, I want to get a horse instead of the motorized chariots people are driving around in Battle for Azeroth. They are noisy, they are scary, and they don't really make me feel very comfortable in the game. I would prefer to have a horse. I know some people in the game of Battle for Azeroth have a strider instead, which is like a giant turkey. I'm not into that. I'd much rather have a horse. So if my character, which is the blood elf, can manage to find a way to get a horse, she would definitely take it. Same thing for Vanya. Same thing with other characters. We can get them a horse. That would be awesome. Okay. So I think I said I love animals. I love horses, and I do love the thought of having a horse pulling my vehicle. It just totally tickles me pink. They cost a lot of money. Would you consider Persian carriage? Yes, I do. Obviously, I need a land. I need a place to park my horse and the carriage. And so, obviously, that was one of the things that me and Patty had talked about. Unfortunately, that would not be with her. It would be with some other means. So if the opportunity that presents itself, I would take it. What's your favorite river in the world if you could visit any of the major rivers? I really don't have a favorite river. I guess I would like to see the Seine in Paris and the Thames in the UK of rivers, because both are where major infrastructure exists. Originally, I was a French Parisian girl named Michelle back in 1921, and I lived to be about, and I got killed by Franz Mahler in the occupation of Paris around 1943. So obviously, I do have a love for Paris as well as the UK. So I love Paris and I love the UK. I love both countries. So obviously for me, both the Toms in London and the Sienne in France are very special to me. Because there's so much beautiful life that occurs around the riverfront in those two countries. I do like the Bayou in the United States and the Great Mississippi, but it's not quite as exciting to me. If you could pick one place in the Middle East, where would you want to visit? Middle East? Oh, I don't know. Maybe Dubai. I'd like to see Dubai because there are things in Dubai that look really, really interesting. This fact is that it's this rich person's mecca for. There's just so many things there that just look interesting, like the man-made islands and the things like that. I also would like to see Israel too, in Egypt, because I would like to see the Great Pyramids close up. But I definitely would say Dubai is definitely the most interesting of the modern things that I would love to see. What are your thoughts? So here we go. What are your thoughts on NASA and the space exploration programs? I think there's a lot of thing about space that NASA is doing. Has been doing exploration for, since its creation. We're learning a lot about our exosolar system. We're learning a lot about the universe that we live in because of the work that's being invested by NASA and other space agencies that have been very, very enriching for scientists and individuals alike. Now, even though you didn't mention it, we want to talk briefly about Space Force because Space Force is also important because Donald Trump created Space Force as he felt that we need to have a military presence in space because we, as a country, expands and our influence expands, other countries are expanding, they're also creating space forces of their own. We need, excuse me, to protect ourselves and from bad people. Oh God, I hate that when I get acid in my gut. Ugh. Okay, so yeah, I think space exploration is important, and now the future is going to be once we go to Mars and we return to the moon, we're going to finally be able to establish bases on both planets, and it was all because of the research done by early explorers, both man and machine, that's going to make it possible for us to establish ourselves on other planets. And that's where we need to use these forces to help us, along with the independent forces such as SpaceX and other private contractors, to get us into space at a cheaper price that's economical and practical for everybody. Okay, next question. What are your thoughts on GMO crops and artificial foods? I don't know. I got a mixed view on that because, in one sense, genetic modified organisms in some cases have helped us to improve the yields of our food and makes their crops better and stronger. The problem is the companies that are producing these GMOs, such as Monsanto, are making a killing because the hybridization has resulted in crops that cannot be the seeds cannot be recycled or reused to get a good crop. You need to get fresh new seeds every year. It costs farmers a lot of money instead of using heritage seeds, which can be recycled and reused in each and every growing season. Artificial foods, you're talking about artificial flavors, colors, and preservatives. There's definitely been a mixed bag of promises of that. It certainly has had a negative impact on some health, especially artificial sweeteners, and the flavor enhancers have caused some people to get to the point where they have they become so addicted to a certain flavor that they can't stop eating, and then those people could develop a serious case of weight gain. But that's because in some cases it's a way to make the food more approachable to some people. And for companies like that grow foods like this, like Conagra, this is how they make their living. With flavors and colors and additives and preservatives. Of course, fast food industry depends on all this technology to have higher yields so that they can keep the price of the food lower and still make a major profit. That's true. But I don't see GMOs as necessarily being a totally evil thing. But I do see that responsible management and how we use it is going to be important as far as artificial flavors and colors and preservatives. I do question some of the stuff that we do to the food. And it's just like God said in the movie, you're turning your kids into garbage cans. Honestly, there's some things that I seriously wonder about if it's really a good thing or not. So I don't really think it's all good or all bad, but I definitely say there are things that I do not recommend that people have to eat. Because I think some of the stuff is just bad for you at large. Do you know anything about Monsanto? Monsanto is a major corporation that is responsible for a lot of the GMO materials as well as pesticides such as Roundup. And also now have combined forces with Bayer, like in Bayer Aspirin, which is a pharmaceutical company, which also was responsible for things like creating things like many GMO products, but also things that may not be so considered good for the people. Monsanto is a multi-billion-dollar international corporation that's been responsible for many of the GMO products and insecticides, pesticides that have affected farmers' lives, and killed many farmers in the process because of misapplication. But that's one of the reasons I don't really think that Monsanto has been a good thing at all. I think that Monsanto as an international corporation needs to be monitored and make sure that they're practicing safe and ethical treatment of people using their products. Okay. Let's see. Monsanto. What conspiracy theories do you believe in? I think that of the current ones, the coronavirus novel A may very well be an artificial construct made in a Wuhan laboratory. I think that is very strong evidence that indicates that it is. I also believe that China is indeed trying to force people to buy their products at the cost of their own people's well-being. I do believe that the New World Order is trying to destroy individual state sovereignty and individual freedoms. This is not necessarily conspiracy theories. This is conspiracy facts. These are real things that are happening every day to people in their lives. And it's hurting people. And so I don't see it as conspiracy theories. Do I believe in the flat earth thing? No. Do I believe that all humans are evil and that we should all gas everybody and just basically totally clean ourselves off the planet? No. Do I believe that fluoride is making kids stupid? Yes. Do I believe that fluoride is causing kids to lose bone mass and bone density? Confirmed by several dentists? The answer is yes. Do I think that the medications and stuff that are out there causing people to lose their brain cells and lose their minds? Absolutely. So, I got a lot of things I believe in. Oh, yeah. Do I believe that Donald Trump is a mind monster, basically wants to destroy the American economy? No. So there's a lot of things I believe in. Some of it don't make a lot of sense to everybody. What conspiracies do you find false? The whole idea of the flat earth theory, I don't even see how anybody could believe in it, that the earth is flat. The earth is not flat. Because if it really was truly flat, the we would have noticed the years, even back in the times of Greeks, we would have noticed it. They knew the earth was round. They just didn't know how big it was. Do I believe that our sun has died and that we have artificial sun circulating the globe, basically passing artificial sunlight onto Earth? No, I do not. Do I believe that that our gravity? Well, no, this would be the one I do believe in, but sorry, out there anyway. Do I believe the aliens do not exist? No, I do not. I believe the aliens do exist. So, and I believe, yes, I do believe the government is hiding the truth. And it's starting to come out now. We're starting to see the ETs. So what happened at the New Mexico Solar Observatory? Why was it closed for all those weeks? Why did they abandon the site for so long? Well, I do believe that there is obviously something they found that they didn't want people to report on. Despite what they said about being some kind of a human invader that got in there, or was a science worker that was in there that they decided to want to apprehend. It seemed like too much of a reason to close the solar observatory just to deal with one individual. So I think that the solar observatory was hiding something, and but the other observatories were obviously not showing it without our sun. So I think there's some truth to that. Would you ever visit a desert? I wanted to go to the Storm Area 51 event. I wanted to go to that, but I had no transportation. I want to see those areas out there. Yeah. Let's see what's the name of the city there. Next to it, not Roswell. That's further down. I know the city you're talking about. Yeah, where the alien is. Yeah, I wanted to see the alien, but I didn't have the money to go there, so I couldn't go. I wanted to go to see it. What are your thoughts on India? Would you ever visit? India is a huge place, densely packed. Lots and lots of beautiful ancient Hindu and Sanskrit artwork. They talked about the deities, the huge number of beautiful pieces of artwork in India. I would love to see the temples and the history. But the problem with Italy, with India is India is extremely hard to get to. It's extremely crowded, and the sights, the smells, it might be a bit much to handle for me. But I definitely would like to visit. But can I get there and get back safely? That's the question. Given the fact that they seem to keep loving to rape their women, I think that's scary. For a woman to travel to India, that's scary as hell. You're going to get raped. I don't think that's a really comfortable thought for me. Do you know anything about Tibet? If so, what are your thoughts on the Chinese occupation of Tibet? It has to do with the Dalai Lama, and I don't even know why China is in Tibet. I really don't know. I think that Tibet, should be allowed to practice what is in the culture of the Dalai Lama for a long time. So I don't see any reason why even China's even in Tibet in the first place. And other than that, I don't really know a lot about Tibet. I'm still trying to learn. What are your thoughts on the Dalai Lama? Do you find any value in any of his teachings? Yes, I do. And yeah, I do follow him. And yeah, I have him as one of my YouTube channels. So I do follow the Dalai Lama. Not as with all the channels I watch, I don't watch him every day, but I do follow his teachings. Some of his stuff that he's inspired and said has been interesting to me as well. Let's see a little further back. What's your opinions on meditation? How often do you meditate? I meditate every day with me. Every morning, every night before we go to sleep. It's always a time when we think about all the things that have been going on in our lives. What does it mean? Why are we doing these things? When we had my working turntable here, we would meditate to music to help us to basically free ourselves from the fetters of earth and travel through the astral journeys to other places, and getting a chance to speak out to the spiritual realm. We've been to the temple of the Temple of Wisdom. We've been to the Temple of Knowledge. We've been to the towers on the other side. We've been to Florence. We've been to Italy. We've been to parts of Calcutta in India. We've been a lot of different places through meditation and astral travel, astral projection. And it's been a wonderful experience for me to get a chance to go and see these places, even if it's not really much more than just literally sitting on a couch. So I do believe in meditation is important, and I believe in the strength of it. Why don't you go to church or do spiritual activities more often? Do you feel you made YouTube more important than God? No, I don't think YouTube is more important than God. If anything, the reason is I don't go to church most often is because sometimes I feel like I outgrew a lot of the teachings of what is taught in the church. But I do love going to church. I do love going to Mass. And it was when after the 2011 change in the Mass, it totally threw me for a loop. My Catholic church is going back to a Catholic rite, which is fun, or the Latin rite, which is kind of fun because I actually do enjoy going into and go do the novenas and things in Latin. It's just that it takes me a little longer to reacquaint myself after being raised under the Nove Ordo and the original Latin, or the 1973 English translation of the Missa Romanium. It's just amazing to be a part of this great transition. But generically, I usually just don't go to church because sometimes I just kind of feel like I don't feel like I quite fit in. I don't see YouTube as being my replacement for church. I see my YouTube channel as a way to help me share my knowledge of my faith system to other people. I know that doesn't seem to answer a lot of questions, but it is the way I feel about it. That the changes that happening to churches, especially the Catholic Church, has been a lot of challenges for me to overcome because of my multiple handicaps. But I do love going to Mass when I can. It's just special to me. So no, I don't see your YouTube channel as more important than God at all. What's your thoughts on airplanes? Flying death traps? I don't like flying. I really don't like airplanes. I much rather, if I'm traveling, I'd rather travel by ground surface transportation or by water, maybe ship or by train or by car or bus, or even walking. I don't like flying. I just don't. Planes have gotten so big and so huge. Dirigibles are kind of nice, but they're even bigger than airplanes. But for me, I much rather stay on the ground or maybe travel by sea than by plane. Thank you very much. Let's see. What are your thoughts on unofficial shuttles and some of the technology NASA's using these space? I don't have a problem with it. The space shuttle was canceled because it was too expensive to keep up. That's why they went back to the rocket system, the variations, the Falcon X rockets, and based on the Delta rockets for cargo transport and the new Falcon capsules, the Dragon capsules. These are going to be our return to the old school of travel into space because it was less expensive. I know it sounds kind of weird to say it that way, but it's true. The space shuttle was a great idea, but unfortunately it was just too unyieldy and too complicated to keep it going as a long-term solution. The fact is that we have a reusable craft was great, but unfortunately, I think right now we're going to be getting into new technology such as space planes, which may result in faster transportation, where once we can take off like an airplane, and then we can go ahead switch from ramjet to scramjet, and then basically turn it into a rocket engine and just take off from once we're outside of the Earth's gravity well. That's one of the reasons why ISS may be an important hub for future extraplanet travel outside of the Earth's solar system. or even to Mars and even to the moon. Space stations are going to be key. Are they ever going to create a space elevator to make it easier for us to get from Earth to ISS? It's possible, but it's going to be really, really a long time away from now. It's going to be very, very expensive. So I don't know if we're ever going to have a space elevator. But if we do, it's going to seriously lower the cost even further of getting into space. Once we're in space, once we're free of, we just got microgravity, it'll be very easy to travel from the space station to Mars or to the moon, or maybe even to Venus or Saturn. I know that those are gas giants, and Venus is a hot, unpleasant place, but you never know. Or even Jupiter. The opportunities are out there about. Again, this is related to why NASA and SpaceX and other space agencies and companies are important for futures for space exploration. Let's see. 74, what's your thoughts on the fact that so much money is being used to exploit space instead of restore Earth? Space is the forefront of technology, aerospace technology. I'm not saying that we should be spending all of our money on space and nothing on reforesting and restoring Earth. I really think it's just its initial outlay is higher because you got to deal with the technology of rockets and things like that. But yeah, I think that we need to try to find more balance and make sure that the Earth itself is also cared for. Absolutely true. I do not see why we should be ignoring Earth. It's our home. It's our planet. It's where we're from. After all, we are Earthers. We are Terrans, and we're Gaians by nature. All of us are of Mother God, which has been raising us from cradle to grave, and for that reason, the Earth is important. So yeah, we should be focusing more expenses on Earth needs as well as space needs. By trying to find balance when one costs a lot more than the other, it's a bit of an issue. Let's see. Are you concerned about the environmental crisis? Well, we're talking about grand solar minimum and the crop failures. Yeah, I am. Do I believe in man-made anthropogenic global climate change? No, because the Earth was even warmer at the time of the Cambrian and Precambrian periods. So I'm not making that kind of a change. Do I believe and support the idea of polluting the oceans, polluting our rivers, polluting our groundwater and our earth and the air? No, I do not. Do I believe that we need to take responsibility for our mistakes? Absolutely. I think that it is important that mankind starts to wake up and realizes that the pollutants and the garbage and stuff that we've dumped into our air, water, and dirt, and that's killing us and our livestock and our other animals on their planet, we need to seriously make changes. I don't think we should be just focusing on man-made global warming because that's not the main problem. But we need to focus on being more responsible on how we treat the things that we do on life on Earth and how we dispose of our waste. And for example, you don't want to do things that are going to deliberately kill off the entire ecosystem. But unfortunately, mankind has done that several times and is definitely guilty of mass harm. For example, the creation of nuclear waste, the dumping of nuclear waste improperly, the accidents of Chernobyl and the accident of Fukushima, Daiichi power plant have left a lot of people seriously questioning if mankind is maybe out to kill itself. So yeah, there's definitely reasons why we need to take more careful initiative and to properly make better decisions on how we manage our planet, or we won't have a planet, and then we'll all end up dead, and that'll be it, folks. That's it. All she wrote. That's one of the reasons why I also believe that we need to focus on the space exploration, so that if the human race is to continue, we have to leave Mother Earth. We have to go to other planets and explore new universes. And just like it says in Star Trek, to boldly go where no one has gone before. to explore new futures. That's essential for humanity at large. Now, let's see. 76. What is your thoughts on the current American education system? Well, there's like several layers of systems. So let's talk about the public education from kindergarten to 12th grade. I think that the public high school the school systems are too focused on saving money at the cost of the kids' mental and well-being and academic standings. I think that we need to focus more on their education and less of having a board of education being told that they got to save money and cut expenses. Our kids are our future. Our kids are going to be, for us, the one thing that is going to become the new men and women of tomorrow. And they need to have a good, well-rounded education. Where our United States education the public education sector has been totally deplorable. And so many times schools have become the equivalent of daycare. And they're not actually helping the kids learn shit. Kids are actually learning more how to break the law, do drugs, and cause harm. And that is why we need to have an educational reform in this country to refocus our education on the things that are much more in the benefit of all human and all mankind, for our future, for our children, for our salvation of our American economy. We need smart people. We need good, highly trained, educated people. Colleges, might as well talk about the next. They have other problems. They have become the bastions lately of pushing a lot of liberal dogma and doctrine, and have the cost of college education has skyrocketed to the point that families will remain in debt for decades paying for the kids' education. Sometimes the kids themselves go take a liberal arts degree and they don't even have anything really to show for it in the end. Even if you go to college, even if you get a degree like I did, computer programming, the sad truth is by the time I graduated from computer programming, the field had changed so much that there just was no way for my degree I had for computer programming to really be directly applicable into today's economy. It just doesn't work. As I started in college, we're working on mini computers, mainframes, writing things in COBOL and Fortran and BASIC, and working with Windows 3.1, and that stuff doesn't exist anymore. And now we didn't even have the web as we do today. Space there, the cloud. We didn't have the cloud back then. So there was a lot of things that were completely different mentalities and APIs that I was taught. I'm still learning it on my own about the cloud and about the cloud-based programming, API programming. I do find it interesting to look at. I do find it interesting looking at the source code and the libraries which the programs are written on. But it's not what I was taught. So it's taken me longer to learn how to adjust and how to learn to all those things. And that's it. That's the questions. I don't believe it. We finished it. Holy cow. All right, but you know what? I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. Let me get the screen back to me. Here. Yeah, let's get this back to me. I did fix my mouse, by the way. The other mouse, I just didn't hook it up yet here. So let's go back to my main window. Okay. First of all, I want to say to everybody who's watched this and sat through this, this is approximately, was 2 hours, 3 minutes, and 20 seconds long. If you want to know more, if you want to ask the questions on the another Ask Me Anything, I'm going to make it easy. What you do is contact me and leave your questions at bicehela3@gmail.com. That's bicehela3@gmail.com. And I will look at your questions and put them together, and then I'll have another one just like this one with humans and ETs asking questions. If you want to have me show your question on the screen with your attribution, that's fine too. I could do that. If you just want to leave it just anonymous, I'll do it anonymously too. We have a live stream today coming up at, we're going to do it at 2 o'clock today. I don't know what we're going to cover. Maybe I might just maybe, you know what I might do? Yeah, you know what I might do is I'm going to upload this one, get this out and ready to go, and then we can watch that video, or you can watch it yourself, and then we can talk about that. If you want to have a human ask me anything live, we could do that. So, all right, guys, listen, everybody, I just want to let you know that I'm really thankful that you came and watched this show, and we'll see you at 2 o'clock today. Stay out of trouble, everybody, okay? Bye-bye. Bye-bye.